within the context of, and he looks like this, that takes it to a whole other level.
In a case like Jeff, sometimes there's so much makeup going on that it's really, 50-50, part makeup, part performance. But Jeff Kober brought so much to the role, we didn't really need to do that much.
He had a really strong idea of what he wanted it to look like, and where I tapped into that was there's a humanness there, but there's what that humanness has transformed into because of the qualities of these creatures, or even more so, it's I guess it comes more from, if you think of all of the clans as together forming a whole, the Nosferatu carry the most animal part of that whole psychology, and that would imply a look that I think was really in the direction of what we had, which is there's humanness there, but what also is there and what is stronger is something that is less human. I didn't really spend a lot of time looking at myself in the makeup. I do remember my son, who at the time was probably 5, his mother brought him to the set, and he couldn't look at me. He had never seen me in this makeup. And so what we had to do was I got in my cast chair, and his mother brought him to me and set him on my lap without him having to look at me, and I put my arms around him, and then he was cool. Then he was okay, and he sat there for an hour and just, and I got to talk to him, and I just don't turn around. Because every time he turned around, it really scared him.
I'm trying to protect you, Sasha.
From what, Julian? Are you a monster like people say? Is that what Cash is? Is that why you don't want us together?
You can believe that if you want. But I have powerful enemies, Sasha. And if they attack Cash and you're with him, you could be hurt. I don't want to lose you. You're important to me, do you understand?
I'll tell you a story. When I did The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer, who I was a huge fan of, and he scared the living hell out of me. And I asked him during lunch one day, I just said, Rutger, you're so amazing. You have this career of playing such amazing bad guys. How do you do it? What's your secret to that? And, as he was smoking a filterless Camel cigarette, he sort of, flicked it away and kind of leaned in and exhaled a bunch of smoke in my face and sort of said, I don't play bad guys. And that freaked me out. I mean, that rattled around in my head for probably the next, 20 years before I really understood what he meant by that. Going back to Mark and Julian, he had that naturally. I don't think he was, struggled his life to figure out, oh, this is what Rutger Hauer meant 20 years ago, He was that way. And so, that sucked you in, and you wanted to see more of it. And that's probably the most unfortunate thing about losing Mark at such a young age is the amount of work that we weren't able to experience that he was going to share with the planet that will forever be lost. There's something, criminal about the fact that we weren't able to experience that with him.
His character was so extraordinary. He was such a beautiful person in every way. We were good friends, close friends. And when he was killed, it was extraordinarily difficult. We were in hiatus, and he was killed in a motorcycle accident in London.
Yeah, John called me and just said that Mark died and he had a motorcycle accident. But I knew his wife, his beautiful wife, and he already had a kid. I knew his wife was due, actually. She was due soon, I think. So that was just terrible, obviously.
And at that point, it was impossible to, any idea of proceeding with the show was impossible. But the beautiful part about the show is that Mark lives forever in this way, because I just thought he was incredible. Just a terrible shame that, a tragedy that to lose Mark, someone that was so gifted and a father of 2 children. We had bonded pretty quickly, but we didn't know each other very well. And we began shooting very quickly after he was hired. And the first shot, the first day, the first morning, where he lays down on his wife's grave and vanishes into the earth. And so that morning, about 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, they were doing makeup and wardrobe. And when Mark gets to wardrobe, I get a call that there was a problem. And Mark was furious. And I went over to wardrobe, and I had chosen, obviously, you know, as I said before, every single prop or clothing and, you know, and everything had all been chosen. But there had been a misunderstanding, and they had given him the wrong wardrobe. And so when he was given his wardrobe and put it on, he realized that he was dressed in a very similar outfit than his bodyguard chauffeur, who was a gangrel. So Mark was very knowledgeable about the show. He knew everything about the show, and knew everything about, you know, the world according to, right, the Bible. And so he was furious that he had been given wardrobe that was the same as his bodyguard, first of all, when he was the prince of the city, and that it was a wardrobe of leathers, because the gangrels always wore leathers. It was a leather jacket, very similar to his bodyguard driver. So I said, Mark, here's the thing. I've chosen carefully all the wardrobes. If I can solve this problem, because he was upset, if I can solve this problem right now for you in this moment, and promise you that it'll never happen again, can you promise me that you could just call me when you sense that something's not right to the show and to the world of the show, and I'll solve that. I promise I'll solve that. So we made each other a deal, and that's the last problem we ever had on the set. We had a Vulcan mind meld on every different detail of the show, and so when he saw the wardrobe that I had chosen for him, which is a $4,000 suit, of course, and a long black coat that was drop dead gorgeous, and you know, it was the prince's clothes. That was the kind of person that Mark was. He was extraordinarily thorough. He researched everything. He was very detail oriented, and his performance was always very exact. And I think that's a trait of classically trained, you know, English Shakespearean actors.
John loved that Mark was so eager to literally bring to life John's exact vision of the character. You know, he was very, very flexible like that, and generous like that. And he was really trying to very passionately figure out how to get inside John's head, basically, and transfer what he was asking, or, you know, play what he was asking.
I'm alone. The only thing that eases the pain of loneliness is family. The irony of my kind.
What do you mean, my kind?
Fathers without children.
Mark cared about every single detail and every single scene so much, and he was such a sensitive, in-touch soul that right after, you know, he was like, is this working? Is that good? Right afterwards, he would do a scene, you know, where he'd stand there stoically, you know, and he'd be staring out at something, and even if he had the vampire eyes and it, you know, didn't matter, he would just, his lip, like he would just, you can see it, even when I was watching it today, you can see his lip just crack a little bit because he's actually feeling all the things, but he's really trying to keep them in, but he never could, totally. There was just a little crack, you know, and always with his mouth, like just a little, you know, he would just do some tiny thing, but it was very, and that's the tenderness I mean, I would see him do that, and, you know, we just had that really nice friendship, you know, in those moments, in that scene. And you can just see that sensitivity when you're that close to somebody and you see their lip crack. You know, it's a little bit like falling in love.
The terrible truth is that time does not heal all wounds.